It's TJ McKinley Podcast, episode 37. We say what we want, period. I got a special guest coming back on today. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Brett Studer from Ramblin' Fan. You can find me on social media at Milroy Eagles Fan, and I am a trying to stay in touch with all the NFC West, but I focus on the LA Rams right now.
But go ahead, man. Give us your quick ether segment. Like, what you want to go off about?
Um, I think the Los Angeles Rams put the Philadelphia Eagles on notice last year, almost beating them in Lincoln Financial Field in the snow. Um, and the Rams are a very young team on defense, very seasoned veterans on offense. So they had a kind of a tough challenge when it came to the draft. Either toss the old guys, to the corner and focus on the core young guys, or stick with the old guys and kick the, kind of work with what they could on the young side. But I think the Rams did a really good job of walking the fine line. They kept enough potential to win with the veterans, but they also did a remarkable job of bringing in a lot of fresh young blood. Of course, the Rams still don't have a successor for Matthew Stafford, but I think after their draft, they picked up Atlanta's 2026 draft first round pick. I think that'll help make it a lot easier to find a franchise quarterback next year.
Okay. Well, let's start with the first, since you a Rams analyst and you speak on the Rams. Let's start with the first pick y'all took in the second round, Ferguson from Oregon. Now, the Rams have, even though the tight end position become more popular in the NFL, the Rams have never been known for like a Travis Kelce or top of the line tight end. But do you feel like picking up Ferguson, he's going to be the game changer y'all need at the position?
Well, I think one of the things that I like about the Rams this year is that 2024 they had a lot of cookie cutter. Every wide receiver was 6'1", 200 to 210 pounds. Every running back was 5'9", 205 to 195 pounds. I mean, they just had like the attack of the Clone Wars. What I really like about Terrence Ferguson is that he is a tight end who plays like a wide receiver. Um, Sean McVay's offense has typically required the wide receivers to fill that blocker role in the offense. But I think Ferguson comes in and he's a bigger body. He can run routes, he can catch passes. The Rams love him. So they clearly have a plan for him. And I think that what he brings to the table for the Rams is they will have the opportunity to go with a 12 personnel package that they really didn't have in the past, because two tight ends only meant they had an extra blocker. Now it
Mm,
means they can put Tyler Higbee and Terrence Ferguson out there and have two receivers who are viable to throw to. And I really like that I don't know if that's as much of a game changer, but it does change the strategy for the Rams going forward.
well, as you know, the Seahawks picked up Milrow from Alabama, and since y'all tied with them last year, 10-7, even though y'all was no one standing, do you feel like now the Rams are going to have issues in the NFC West now that Seahawks have got acquired Milrow?
No, I don't think so, because they traded away their quarterback, Geno Smith, and they picked up the guy from the Minnesota Vikings. Uh, 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 what's his name? The guy from USC. I'm not even thinking of it right now. They picked up the Minnesota Vikings quarterback, uh, and I don't know that first year putting a quarterback into their offense is going to
Darnold.
be, yeah, Sam Darnold. Thank you. I don't think he's going to be be as efficient. Geno Smith was did a whole heck of a lot for the Seahawks, by making the plays and making incredible throws. Darnold is a system quarterback, and he fit the Minnesota Vikings system very well. He did really well for them. I don't know that he'll have the same fit in what the Seahawks offense will do. And I don't think I'm alone. I think there are a number of NFL analysts who view the Seahawks as maybe taking a step back in 2025. Jalen
Uh,
Monroe's a young quarterback, but he won't kick in until 2026 or maybe even 2027.
Are you worried about the other teams like Arizona with Marvin Harrison Jr. and I really don't know who Arizona picked. Arizona was kind of quiet this draft, but are you worried
Well,
about their team?
they got Josh Sweat. Yeah, I think Arizona's got a shot. Their biggest weakness was the defensive line, and they always seem to fade as the season goes on. They start out a house of fire. They're like, 6-3, 7-2, and then the end of the season, they lose 5 of 6 games, and they just fall out of the market for playoff time. But I think that the Cardinals did what I think is a rather smart offseason. I don't know just how good they are because they did lose a lot of players too. Um, and I just don't have as much confidence in their Kyler Murray as a lot of people do because I've seen him literally quit on the team in a playoff game where the Rams were beating the heck out of him, and he just said, "I'm not going back in." That sticks with me in that it suggests that he doesn't really have that fight potential when the chips are down. But they've got some good. They got the former Eagles, I think, defensive coordinator as a head coach, and they certainly have a lot of talent on the team. So they may be a surprise if they can, last in the second half of the season. They may surprise some folks.
Well, as you know, going on to the next pick, y'all got one of the hard bugs. Of course, he from Michigan, so you should expect a lot of Michigan. Well, no, he with the Chargers. My bad. My bad. Oh, the next pick I got was Josiah Stewart, outside linebacker from Michigan. Now, I seen
Yeah.
throughout the draft, a lot of Michigan players were getting drafted, like a lot, especially the first 2 or 3 rounds. What you feel
Yeah.
about him? You feel like y'all got the right Michigan player, or you feel like he going to be mid?
No, I like it. The Rams have 2 starters in Byron Young and Jared Verse. They're going to be the outside linebacker starters. What they needed was a guy who can come in and take up Michael Hoyt snaps. And Hoyt was a former starter who played a rotational role. He was the third guy who came in, got about 600 snaps. Josiah Stewart is not seen as a guy who is big enough, strong enough, physical enough, muscular enough to handle a starting role just yet. He
Mm.
may get there if he works out in the gym, but he is perfect for the Rams rotational role because he's high energy. He could play the run, play the pass, play the getting after the quarterback. And one of the things that the Rams have not had is a cover outside linebacker, and he can. So one of the things that I think is an upgrade, and I think that they may have gotten more than they bargained for in terms of quality, is I think Josiah Stewart is perfectly suited for what the Rams have. And that's a perfect example of what I was saying about how the Rams drafted for their roles. They didn't draft for all pros. They didn't draft for pro bowlers. They drafted for the best fit for the kind of role that they have in the team. And right now, the role that they have is a rotational guy who can give uh, rest for Byron Young and Jared Verse, and Josiah Stewart is the guy.
Okay. Moving on to the next pick. As y'all can see, dude really breaking these players down. Let's see. Third pick, Jarquez Hunter, running back out of Auburn. You know, Auburn and Bama known for having great running backs. The
Yeah.
passing game with Auburn can be suspect, but when it comes to running backs out of Auburn, they usually have a history with great running backs. What you feel about him? You feel like he gonna be the next round, let's say Todd Gurley, or he just there for now?
Um, that's a tough one because the Rams don't really give rookie running backs much of a chance. They drafted Blake Corum last year out of Michigan
Mm,
and gave him 200 snaps and a handful of carries, which really didn't fit where they drafted him. Jarquez Hunter is a guy who, if they play him, he'll make a huge impact. But the question is, will the Rams play him? I don't know. He's a lot faster than any other running back. He has explosive speed. He can kick off 60 and 74-yard touchdown runs in a blink. He can catch the ball. He has a tremendous ability to block in if it's a passing down. So it gives the Rams everything that they want. But again, it's going to come down to whether or not the Rams give him the snaps, whether they give him the carries, whether they give him opportunities. I'd love to see the Rams go with a running back by committee. They argued that they're going to try to do what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did, which is feature at least two running backs. But right now, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum are ahead of him in the queue. They have Cody Schrader, Ronnie Rivers ahead of him on the depth chart. So I don't know if he gets many opportunities, but I think if he does, he's going to wow some people. I really love him. He's a tough son of a gun. He doesn't use gloves. He lifts like a power lifter. I mean, he's got a physique that you dream of on a running back. They just got to play him, and I don't know if they will.
Okay. The next pick y'all drafted was Ty Hamilton, defensive lineman out of let's see, The Ohio State University. Now, of course, Ohio State just came off a national championship, so you
Oh
expect a
yeah.
lot of players to get drafted. You feel like y'all got the right Ohio State player, or is it hype?
Well, that's a good question too, because um, again, it's whether or not he fits the role. Ty Hamilton did not produce a whole lot. He was a blocker gobbler. He's the guy who stuffs the run, makes running backs run other directions, and because of that, he doesn't show up really well on the stat sheet. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody, when you're looking at guys who play the defensive line, they want to know if you get tackles for a loss or if you get quarterback sacks. And Ty Hamilton really didn't generate a whole lot of that because everybody ran away from him. But what I love about him is that he's a beast on the defensive line. He is strong enough to take on two offensive linemen and break through. He can tackle for a loss. He can get a quarterback sack. But I think that his role for the Rams is to be more of an occupy the lineman, force them to go elsewhere, and then let the outside linebackers or defensive ends run in and make the play. I again, he's a good solid depth player, a good rotational player. Is he going to be an all pro bowler? Probably not. But I really love what he does bring to the Rams because he brings exactly what they need. A strong athletic nose tackle who can rest Poona Ford. And, if you can keep Poona Ford rested, that guy's going to go eight on center. So yeah.
Another player, this another linebacker. So I guess y'all need linebacker help with the Rams. Y'all drafted Chris Paul Jr., inside linebacker from Ole Miss. Another linebacker y'all took. How you feel like he go do in the system?
Um, that's a good question. I think that the Rams knew what they wanted. They traded they did trade up for Hunter, and then Chris Poo Paul fell to them, but they said that they love the guy. He's a little smaller, but what he does bring is that he is a linebacker who can defend the run and defend the pass. In the past, the Rams have not really invested a whole lot in the linebacker position, and they've
Mm.
had to go with one or the other. They either went with a guy who didn't play the run very well but could cover, or who could play the run really well and could not cover. With Chris Poo Paul, they get a guy who can do a little bit of both. And I think that he and an undrafted linebacker named Sean Dolak are going to have a hell of a competition because Dolak was um, he's about safety size, a big safety size, but he's about the same size as Chris Paul. Both had really good production in college. And I am curious to see how they handle bigger bodies in the NFL. If they can do it, the Rams got themselves some serious talent at linebacker, which would be a very nice, wonderful thing. They need it. So hopefully they got it.
I hope they do too, especially when teams be drafting like two or three linebackers. You're expecting at least two since they drafted two and the undrafted free agents. You expect at least two of them to be the next. One of them
Yeah,
you expect to be great, and another one you just expect to be a placeholder. Like, can you keep us like stacked here for some years before we draft the next great player? Let's
yeah.
go. Let's go ahead and get to this last player. Konada Montfield, is that how you say it? Wide receiver,
Yeah, Kanata
Pittsburgh.
Mumfield. Yeah,
Wide rec-
yeah.
Do you feel
He's
like
a
now that what
go
you feel
ahead.
about him?
Well, I didn't really know him until I started to read up on him. You always sort of like run through the internet, Googling the guy's name as soon as your team drafts the guy. And I found out that Lewis Reddick, ESPN analyst, loves him. And so I was like, okay, why does Lewis Reddick love him? So I started to look into his um, career at college at Pittsburgh Panthers. And
Mm,
he's a little bit shorter, but he's the kind of player who can do everything well in that he can run the deep routes, he can run the intermediate routes, he can run the short routes. He's a good route runner, but he has a little bit burst of speed. He knows exactly when to time his outstretched arms. He knows how to juke and fake defensive back, so he creates separation. He has incredible burst right out of the gate, which is an undervalued skill set because I think a lot of people expect, your 40 speed is always going to be the speed that you're running, but he just explodes off the snap. And with that, he catches people off guard and he can create instant separation. What
do
I
you
like about him,
go
go ahead.
ahead? No, go ahead.
I
My
was
bad.
just what I like about him is that he does the little things that a lot of Rams receivers don't do. They're all 6'1", they all do great routes, they're physical. Um, Kanata Mumpfield does the things that doesn't require as much physicality, but still shows up really well on the box score because he can create the separation. He can burn players deep, but at the same time, he can run those quick little, hitch routes that can move the chains for 5 yards. And I think that the Rams do very well if everything's going right. Kanata Mumpfield gives them the opportunity to do things when things don't go right, when they need somebody to break off their route because a blitzer is getting to the quarterback. And I think that that's a sign of the Rams getting a little more sophisticated, a little better at offense because they don't expect everything to go right on every play. They now have the kind of players on the roster who, if they
Mm-hmm.
get a chance to play, can make plays happen when things break down, which I love. I love that.
Well, I was about to ask, you think this Sean McVay last year, he got another year? Cause it feel like ever since the Super Bowl, one, ever since y'all won the Super Bowl, it's like the Rams just been like I knew the team was full of old heads, like when Clay Matthews and Aaron Donald retiring, even though he was still in his prime. But I feel like the team was full of old heads. I pretty much expected for y'all to rebuild. Now it's at the point where it's like the Rams like barely squeaking into the playoffs, and Sean McVay getting questioned whether he's this all-time great coach. So do you feel like the Rams are giving him a year or two? Or you feel like this is last year?
Oh no, no, he's solid. He is not on the hot seat whatsoever. In fact, I think that was a good point back in 2022 when the Rams finished 5-12, and he said, "Wait a minute, I got to take it. I got to take some time off. I don't know if I want to come back."
Uh-huh.
And the Rams gave it to him because they wanted him back that badly. After about a week or so, he decided, "Yeah, I still have the passion to play." And this is a different Sean McVay. Before he was driven, before he was short tempered, he was curt. He was, I mean, you could tell there were a lot of pressure on him to win, win, win. And now he's more mellow and he's more like the guy who instead of when do we get there, when do we get there, when do we get there, he's more of the guy who sits and says, I'm just enjoying the ride. That's a huge difference. And you can see it in his press conferences. You can see it whenever he talks about the team, about the players, when he sells the team to Devontae Adams. He didn't sell Devontae Adams on a 1 year hitch. He sold Devontae Adams on the vision for him saying, okay, you bring these skill sets. Here's how I think we can use you. And I don't think that you can do that if you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, yeah, I got a foot out the door. Um, I think McVay's there to stay. I think he can write a ticket with the Rams as long as he wants to. He would have to finish last for about 2 or 3 years in a row before I think there would be any question of is this the guy? And as long as he's winning going to the playoffs, winning first in the division, which he just did again. I don't think there's any question that they want him back and they'll write whatever check he wants to keep him.
Now I'm gonna ask you because you know the Shador Sant. I can't talk. I'm tired. the Shador
Shador,
Sant. The Shador Sanders drama. What you feel about that? Do you feel like the NFL team did him wrong for how far he falling to the Browns in the fifth round, or you feel like what you think about the situation?
that's a complex question, and it's it comes down to I think how Shador Sanders may have viewed himself
Mm,
versus how NFL teams viewed him. And if he had the belief in himself, like I think that he did, and every young man deserves to, was confident, thought that he deserved to be the number one quarterback on a team.
mm,
I mean, that sort of sets the stage. But if the NFL teams looked at his body of work and didn't see franchise starting quarterback in what he delivered, and that he may have been a raw development, I don't know that the what he saw himself as and what the NFL team saw him as aligned. And there was a lot of drama out of the NFL media that
mm,
said, "Oh, he should be a first round pick." But when I look back at NFL draft grades, there were a lot of players who had higher pure numeric draft grades than Shador Sanders who were not drafted in rounds 1, 2, or 3, and nobody was talking about them. To be a franchise quarterback, I think you either have to be so damn good that there's no question, but if you do have questions, then you have to enter the sort of the whole draft process with a little humility and say, listen, I want to learn from this guy. I want to be coached. I want to become the best player I can be.
mm.
I there were a number of video footages where Shador Sanders was quoted at the podium saying, I am forget all that you knew. I'm the answer for your team. That's a pretty bold proclamation to make when you're not drafted yet. I've always been the kind of guy who says, speak with your actions, not with your words. Show up on the field. Don't tell me how good you're going to be. Show me how good you're going to be. And I think that the media got caught in themselves believing that he was going to be better. And so then they created the drama. Oh my God, he's falling, he's falling, he's falling. Well, maybe that's where he was going to be all along. I don't know. Um, there weren't a lot of teams that entered the draft with a true quarterback need. And those teams that did have a quarterback need chose other players. So, I don't have a good answer. I know that there are a lot of NFL team GMs have been burnt by drafting the wrong quarterback. Cleveland Browns, Johnny Manziel comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
But and so you got to be really careful about who you bring into the team. If you're going to stake your reputation, here's my quarterback, that can break a GM's career. And I don't think that any NFL GM was willing to take that chance this year. Um, I see it as a nothing burger. I think there was just a whole lot of headlines and not a whole lot of real meat and potatoes to the story. He's got a chance. If he is the guy that everybody said that he was, the Cleveland Browns are more than happy to have a starting quarterback who they picked up in the fifth round because he's going to be cheap and he's going to be very motivated to prove every damn person out there wrong. Let's see it happen.
Yeah, I feel like like I was saying previous podcasts, they was gonna draft Shador because the Browns got this habit of always wanting to draft the most hyped quarterback coming out of college that year. So I already knew from Johnny Manziel to Baker to all the 101 examples the Browns got to draft the quarterback. So when they drafted Shador, I was excited, but then I was like, I already knew it because that's just how they draft. Don't worry, we gonna do another 40. So that's just how they draft. I ain't even worried about that. We gonna do it. We coming back. So we gonna do part two, y'all. So yeah, so it's like this. And then it's like, do you feel like more is Dion or Shador?
I don't know. And I think that was another thing that really put a lot of teams on notice is that Shador was playing for dad. And,
Mm,
and I mean, Deion Sanders didn't have any bones about it. He loved his son at quarterback. But if you are raised and are coached by your dad, that's a whole lot of familiarity that you are suddenly going to lose as soon as you jump to the NFL. How will a kid who played for his dad handle now being coached by strangers, now being surrounded by strangers, now being supported by strangers? And I think that is a variable that a lot of people didn't anticipate. Is he played for Dion, he could have a good rapport with Deion Sanders. They could talk about what worked, what didn't work. He could bitch and moan and go through all those sessions that competitive players do. But how is he going to handle that kind of pressure to deliver when he doesn't know the guy? And
mm,
I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of teams didn't jump right out there is that they didn't know what the intangibles were. They didn't know what the off-field pieces were. This is Shador Sanders' first time away from home, away from dad, away from a very comfortable, familiar football setting. So I mean, that's a wild card, and it's like a medical flag on a player in the draft. NFL GMs run like hell from those kind of questions. They don't invest in those players who may have those kind of questions that they can't answer with a draft analysis, data analytics. So
what do you feel about? You feel like Travis Hunter gonna be one of these the next generational great, or he's just gonna be he's Hall of Fame bound if he continue his career like he been going, but you feel like he gonna be able to play two ways in NFL, or you think he gonna have to stick to one position?
I think he's going to have to focus. I love his spirit. I love the fact that he said, "Yeah, I want to be considered for both." But in the NFL, it's a lot more physical. It's a lot more injury prone. Wide receiver and cornerback, there's a lot of wear and tear on knees and ankles, soft tissue. I mean, how many times does somebody go down with an ACL injury in the NFL? It's almost commonplace every week to have at least one or two guys out on an ACL injury that puts them on the bench for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how he can handle playing both sides with the wear and tear on his knees. I mean, yeah, he's young. I was young once too, but you get old, and if you're playing both ways, that's double the snaps, double the workload, and that means you're going to age that much faster. Dual threat quarterbacks, look at them. How long do they really last? Lamar Jackson's an exception to the rule, but oftentimes those dual threat quarterbacks get banged up because you can't take the pounding running and passing. I think that at some point Travis Hunter has to flip the coin and say, "Yeah, I'll be this or that," but I don't think he can be both anymore.
Yeah, I feel like he gonna have to decide what position. We seen with Charles Woodson when he run the Heisman with Michigan back in was that '99. Yeah, he played receiver and corner, but yeah, man,
Yeah.
you can't play, but he realized that when he got to the Raiders that you can't play both ways in the field. It's too many
No, no.
playbooks, too many plays, too many people. Because it'd be a lot of jealousy. A lot of people feel like, oh, this dude thing he can pass, he can catch on me and defend me. Like you got to
Yeah,
get the position, man.
yeah, and I just can't see how he can stay rested at the end of the game. I mean, what are you going to do in the fourth quarter when he's winded? You lose two players then. You know, if if they've got rotations to throw guys in there just to keep them fresh, and they're only playing one position, how the heck are they going to keep him fresh playing two positions?
That's
I
just
don't see it.
That's another thing. It's gonna be another man who you gonna be blocking from earning their money for their
Yep,
family because you
yep,
want to play both ways. I mean, it's good. Like Travis Hunter got the talent. It's not like he got the talent, but it's like it's a lot of politics that's gonna come involved with that because you can't play receiver and
no,
corner every game for year in week. No, just no, man. You
I
can't
yeah,
do
I
it.
agree.
You can't
That's
go
a
from
huge advantage.
you can't go to the receiver room to the corner room in one day. It's two different mentalities. You got a lot of egos. It
Yep.
ain't go work, man.
Yep.
But yeah, you got another player you want to discuss?
Yeah, I got a couple. Um,
Okay.
I think one of the guys that I really like. Well, let me talk about some undrafted players that I really like. The Rams picked up a kid, Willie Lampkin, North Carolina interior offensive lineman. He stands 5'10", weighs 270 pounds, but he was an outstanding blocker at the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most interior offensive linemen start at 6'2" or higher, taller. But Willie Lampkin proved in the Senior Bowl that he could handle guys who are a lot bigger than he is, and he has exceptional wingspan, meaning that he has enough arm length to keep guys off his body and fight them at the point of attack. I think he's got a shot to make the team. He was projected to be a seventh rounder. He was undrafted, but he is, if you check all of his coachables, he is ideal. I mean, he has great footwork, great hand movement. He slides laterally well. He's just too small, but he still can compete. And I think that over time, I think that that will end up being a big plus for them. The other thing that I really like is the Rams went out and got Britton Covey, who is a free agent wide receiver, 5'8", 190 pounds wet, I guess. But what I
Mm-hmm.
like about him was he was the Philadelphia Eagles punt returner in 2023. He suffered a pretty devastating injury. So he was out, but he is looking to come back this year. He was the best punt returner in 2023 of in the entire NFL. And the Rams got him. They were last in punt returns in 2024, dead last. No team did better or did worse rather. And now they've got the best punt returner. So I think that he's got a chance to move the needle a little bit if the Rams put him in and give him the punt return job. So there's a couple. I think the Rams have a lot of under the radar guys who could do better. I'm not sure I've seen enough. One draft analyst says that Oklahoma State wide receiver Brennan Presley is a name to watch. They think that he fits what the Rams want to do on offense. I'm not sure that I know enough about him to kind of endorse that, but I think that the Rams um, did take a lot of swings at a lot of different places that don't fit their typical, cookie cutter approach for maybe a wide receiver or an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. They've gone, they got a really big defensive lineman in Bill Norton out of Texas. Um,
Mm.
they've got a couple wide receivers. They've got a lot of defensive backs, but they didn't do a cornerback, which is really surprising. They had 10 on the roster. There's NFL rumors that the Rams are going to trade for Miami Dolphins All-Pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey, who used to play for the Rams. But that's something we've got on sort of our watch alert. I don't know if it'll happen, but I think it could. Um, so, if the Rams end up getting Ramsey, I think that they are perfectly suited to take on the Eagles. If they don't, then it may be they may have to get lucky and stay healthier than the Eagles do by the time they meet this year. That's it. That's kind of a quick walk around.
All right, go ahead and tell where they can find you at, man.
You can find me at ramblingfan.com. I'm part of the Fansided network. You can find me at Milroy Eagles Fan on social media. Um, hit me up on Facebook. Hit me up on social media. I answer questions. As long as it's, you're not insulting my parents or my sobriety, I'm more than happy to try to help you out. And I love talking football, so I appreciate you giving me the chance to shoot the NFL bullshit with you, TJ. I love this stuff.
Well, as y'all know, Brett definitely will be back on. I gotta find a software upgrade to something where I can record longer because I can already tell this ain't about the work. Oh, but it's been TJ McKinley Podcast, episode 37. We talk about the LA Rams draft and a couple NFL players, notable NFL players. Hoping that they turned out great in the NFL with all the media drama, Shador. Um, so anyway, this is TJ McKinley Podcast, episode 37. Go on my YouTube, follow all my socials, and thank y'all for watching.